I'll take you up on this your Lagos trip, and also you went visiting the Ariana Kankanfo of Yoruba land, Gani Adams, where you told him about your plan of uniting Nigeria, and you made promise of restructuring. Some of your allies and some of your friends who are campaigning for you, like the Middle Belt Forum, Afenifere, the Pandev. These are some of the proponents of restructuring Nigeria. The manner of their own approach to the issue of restructuring, because by definition, restructuring now means different things to different people. If you look at the radical approach, the likes of Chief Adebanjo has preached about the issue of restructuring when he said, not only when Nigeria is being properly restructured before we can get the kind of the desired development. What do you mean? What is the Peter Obi's concept of restructuring? And if you really mean it, how soon or how fast are you hoping to get down to the ground and get this issue of restructuring working? Should he be elected president?
So Nigeria is already Federal Republic of Nigeria. So you first need to have true federalism, as is being practiced in other nations of the world. When we talk about the issue of restructuring, we're talking about trying to, this is not going to be something that I'm going to do by presidential fiat or this. It is something that we all need to sit down and talk and go through the process of rule of law in doing that. But I can assure you, we need to restructure. We all have factor endowment that will make the country work. Some of those who are even against restructuring, or even have fear of restructuring, will benefit more. For example, I've always said it consistently, the biggest physical assets of Nigeria is uncultivated land in the north. We can make more money, far more money than we earn from oil or gas from agriculture, if we do the right things. We say we live on 923,000 square kilometers of land, which the vast land, arable land, are in the north. And we're 200 million people. Tiny country like Netherlands that have just live on, without water, live on 33,000 square kilometers of land, which if we were to donate land to them, minority from Nigeria, we remove 33,000 from our 923, so we will still have 890,000 left. If we were to give them, even human beings, they are 17.4 million in population, and we are about 220 actually. So we give them, we still have 200 million people left. The agricultural export in 2021 is 103 billion euros, about $120 billion. That is 4 times our entire export when you divide 18.9 trillion by 650 naira, because your parallel market today is about 750. So you find out that it's 3 times your entire export. And you have that vast land that is uncultivated. So for me, that vast land can give us far more than we're earning from oil today, and cultivating it is something that I'm focused on. I want to put people out of poverty, especially in the north, by ensuring that we put in the resources that will ensure that that vast land is cultivated. First, that will feed ourselves, which will drive down our inflation, because what's contributed to our inflation today is food inflation. Two, will lead to manufacturing and lead to export, which will in turn, like I said before, increase our reserve and drive down our rate of exchange. These are things, restructuring will come. Then those from Niger Delta today will be able to use the resources that we're going to generate from further production of oil and gas area to be able to develop, clean up the environment, bring them back to agricultural and other food productive areas like fishing and everything. There's quite a lot we can do if we do the right things.
So
I keep saying that.
If I may quickly jump in and ask you, Mr. Obi, there is the 2014 confab. What would you do with that report? Are you going to consider it at all? If you're not, are you considering, because you're talking about unity, on what forum are you going to have a unity conversation should you win the election?
Hey, Cheryl, I'm going to bring everybody to the table. When I talk about uniting the country, you need to give everybody a sense of belonging. Serve them by ensuring justice, fairness, equity, and everybody being involved. We're going to sit down with everybody, including agitators and everybody, to discuss. And that's why I'm visiting everybody and telling them, let's unite. I look forward to serving in a Nigeria where, few years after, no Nigerian will ever say, I'm from the north, east, or west. But be proud to say, I'm a Nigerian. We must have a Nigeria where Nigerians want to celebrate Nigeria. And that's why we've selected a strong team where the three most critical persons in our party and candidacy are all of us are people born after the independence.
So let me take you up quickly. I'd like you to clarify a few of these issues. There is this issue of a 2 billion naira to clergies. What do you have to say to respond to these controversies?
Sure, you know me very well. I don't even have 2 billion naira. Talk less of giving anybody 2 billion naira. What am I giving them 2 billion for? They are clergies. They should be praying for the country. They don't need money to pray. I haven't even, everybody knows me and the church and everything. So I believe that the clergies also have a problem. Their followers are suffering. So they want good governance. Why will I give them money? They should give me money to be able to support me in terms of being able to run around for my campaigns and everything, because my going around for campaigns, I have to pay for transport, I have to pay for this. So if anything, the clergies, I expect them to give me money, not the other way around. See, I've never knowingly gone to any clergy. I can comfortably tell you that I've never given any clergy. I've never given 1 naira to CAN. Not 1 naira. And if anybody can trace 1 naira given by P2B to CAN, I'll stop running. I can't. Say I have an allergy for money being wrongly spent. I can't give people who are supposed to be paying money for what? They should be the one to do that, because their job is very simple. They need to pray for a better governed Nigeria. They need to pray for a new Nigeria.
All right. Let me take you here to another quickly, because I have a whole lot to ask you. Did you hear, it's been in the news, that some leaders of the Labour Party in the Southwest have since dumped the Labour Party and support for you. And this is what is said in the news today. Quote, Peter Obi lacks the clout to win. How do you react to this? Or how does it?
So, we are not talking about this brand of politics is politics of yesterday. So I don't want to be trapped in process of yesterday. Those who think about yesterday and today will miss tomorrow. So I'm committed to a new Nigeria. That new Nigeria is not Nigeria where you do all sorts of gamings that are practiced yesterday. I'm talking about let's discuss what will take Nigeria out of its present predicament, not issues of yesterday. This is the politics of yesterday. It's a transactional politics. I'm not in transactional politics. I'm not in it where you have to carry people or do this. I'm talking about what do we do to build a better Nigeria, where the young youths of Nigeria will be gainfully employment. So our unemployment, I told you, have moved from 10 point something percent in 2012 to over 30%. That is 300 times. So we have a country where our debt in 2012 is about 10 trillion. Today is 44. If you add ways and means, it's almost 70-something trillion. That should be what is worrying us. Not that one Mr. Obi from Oka or somebody from here have left the party and joined another party. Anybody can join anything he wants to do. I'm concerned about how do we save the country. Our ways and means as of 2012 is under 1 trillion. Today it's over 23. And so you're talking about people saying Obi has the clout. Which clout?
So again, let me go in that same trajectory. It does look like some of these things are perhaps testing the resolve of your campaign and the trajectory of your campaign council. For example, we're hearing that some labor union in Kano have collapsed their structure. We understand that early in the day that the labor, the NLC and its other labor sister organization are working for the Labour Party, but it does look in 1 or 2 states they already are leaving the Labour Party and working for other political parties. How does this come with you? There is another leadership of the NLC. You were talking with the NLC leadership under Ayuba Waba. What has happened to the Nigeria Labour Congress and the TUC support which you got? Has that gone into the wind right now?
So if there's anybody if there's one group of people who are at the, call it, who are suffering most in all this, the labor, in terms of TUC, NLC, are all part of it. So my concentration is, my desperation is a Nigerian that is working for all. A Nigerian where things are today, so your country does not have strong disposable, or call it local middle class that can afford to say they exist. The demand, local demand, is weak because of inflation, because of unemployment, because of this. This is what should be worrying everybody. I've looked at various sectors. This morning I was discussing with somebody. Woman said, in Nigeria, despite that the road is not safe, so people don't travel by road any longer, because of safety, that even our flight passenger volume is still under 10% of our population. And they are repeat passengers. So the numbers of, so we have less than 18 million traveling by air. And I compared it with some other countries like Brazil, and the number is over 50%. So, I'm looking at the economy. I want us to put people out of poverty. I want the country to work. Not looking at all this, oh, maybe this person supports me or that person supports me here. What are we going to do to pull people out of poverty? That is my preoccupation. What are we going to do to ensure that out of school children, those people, especially in the north, who have not had the opportunity of going to school, but have learned Quran, how can we meet them at the point where they're learning Quran and teach them skills so they can be employed? How do we ensure that all those industries in Bompai, in Sheridan 1, in Kanu, Sheridan 2, 3 that have collapsed come back alive? How do we ensure that all the companies that are collapsing in Lagos come back to life? How do we ensure that we develop our ports to be more efficient and not contribute in businesses collapsing, rather become more efficient and a tool for business upgrade, for creating more jobs, because we're going to have transshipments through our ports. We're going to have, through our airports, we're in the middle of Africa. How are we going to become a transshipment and hub of both air and sea? These are things that should be worrying us. Not that, I said it again, that Shehu left PDP or APC or Labour and joined TYZ. Whatever you want to go, Shehu, you're free to go there.
Mr. Obi, I had an interview recently with the presidential candidate of the NNPP, Senator Robbie Kunkunso, who, in his own view, he sees you as someone who doesn't have a base and you don't have the kind of structure that can win election. All of the ideas that you're talking about tonight, or you've been talking to your supporters about, can only come to fruition if they give you the opportunity to be Nigeria's next president. And you have been described by your opponent as a social media favorite, and that your supporters are in the air and not on the ground. A lot of your supporters and those who have not made up their minds tonight are watching. How do you convince them that you have the kind of structure or what it takes to win this election? You have been saying that in fact, you have been said that you will come a distant third. Your opponent said you might come fourth. These are some of the permutations. What are you reading? What gives you the assurance that you can win this election, Mr. Obi?
So when you started your program this evening, you said that Peter Obi visited the market and people came out in their numbers. And you saw the numbers. The numbers are physical. When I started, they said the 4 people tweeting in a room. Now they're saying, I don't have the structure, I don't have the number. The numbers will be determined by the voters. My biggest structure, I've said it, is the Almighty God, followed by the people of Nigeria, whom I'm pleading with, let's build a new Nigeria. A new Nigeria is possible. And I'm committed to it. And I've said, hold Dati, Baba Ahmed, and Peter will be responsible for that new Nigeria, where Nigeria will be secured, Nigeria will be united, Nigeria will move from consumption to production where there will be rule of law, regulatory environment that will attract investments, where we'll fight corruption to its minimum, because two of us are coming from a background where there's a consistency in the past, there's a track record.
Mr. Obi, what is your own view, or how do you situate things? This is one of the things that has been said about you. When you promise and you are said, you come out to say, look, hold me responsible. I'm going to turn around this country. And you've been criticized. There was the interview I had with the former governor of Lagos State. Amongst those who are running for president, who are in the front running, yourself, the NNPP presidential candidate, the APC presidential candidate, you are former governors, two-term governors. Now, and in that sense, Mr. Fashola was saying, making reference that it was only Tinubu that has a record or track record that is being copied by other states. Now, when you said that you were going to turn things around, there are those of your opponents who have criticized you to say, look, Mr. Obi may not have a full understanding of the workings of the federal government, that things are more complicated than he thinks, and you have promised that things will not be as usual. You will change things. How difficult have you learned that things are in the federal government or running the nation or being a Nigeria's president? Are you hoping that there might be some surprises that you get into office to learn?
I don't think there's any surprises. I don't think there's anything that's complicated. You know, I don't think so. That was what they were telling me when I was going to be governor. They said, oh, you've never governed before. You've never been a civil servant. You don't know how civil servants work. Civil servants are the most difficult people to work. Civil servants are thieves, teachers are this and everything. I can tell you, Sharon, I worked for them for 8 years. I do not see all those things they are being accused of and anything. They became partners in progress. It was, for example, let me use education. Sharon, despite the fact that I started in 2006, which was 6 years clear from the time Millennium Development Goals started. By the time it was concluded in 2015, we were #1. And I started late. And that was the only measure of development within the said period that I was in government. Anambra State was #1 in Millennium Development Goals. We were #1 in education. We did a lot of work, good work in health and in pulling people out of poverty. And you can go and ask people like Dr. Magnus Packle that was in charge of pulling people out of poverty. So I don't see anything when people say this. I don't know where the surprise is going to come from. The only surprise for me is surprise that we're going to do things that people won't believe. It's possible. We're going to surprise people. That's the only surprise. The only surprise is pulling people out of poverty that people think is impossible. Managing our resources more efficiently. The only surprise is that we shut down corruption. The surprises we're going to spring up with, but not surprises of the country worsening. It will be surprise of the country progressing.
We are just about 60 seconds to our next break, Mr. Peter Obi. I know you are in this race and you want to win it. There are those who believe that you may not have what it takes to win it now. If you think that you can win it, with what margin, what are you saying? What is your mathematics and what is your calculation telling you tonight?
Well, Sharon, I've offered myself to Nigerians. You know, I'm not predicting anything. I've offered myself. I'm convinced that I remain in this race, that Dati and I are committed to a new Nigeria. And we're telling Nigerians, join us, let's build this new Nigeria that everybody will be proud of. Let us for the first time have a non-transactional government where those who are in government, those who are serving, are there to serve the nation, where public resources will be used for public good, where there will be rule of law, where there will be respect for everybody, where there will be justice, fairness, where there will be equity, inclusiveness, and all sections of Nigeria will be involved. Let's start building this in Nigeria. Preaching. It is important. We want a government of the youths and women that works for all. And that's what I'm preaching. That's what I'm begging every day.